You ready to do this, Stu?
Oh man, I am so ready. Let's do this. Punch it, Chewie!
Welcome, super friends, to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, a safe place to talk about all things in nerd and pop culture. I'm Spencer Stapleton, and my co-pilot tonight is Stu Jones.
Spence, how's it going, man? Haven't talked to you in a while, haven't seen you for a while.
Let's do it, man. We're just two nerds that refuse to grow up. Thank you for joining us. This is episode number 71. We release every Thursday morning on iTunes, Google Music, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, and everywhere podcasts are available. If you like what you're hearing, hit that subscribe button and get us automatically each and every week in your ear holes. Stu, welcome to the podcast. What is up, my friend?
Not much. Haven't really talked to you too much. Last time we hung out is when we saw Force Awakens.
That was a while ago.
That was a while ago. Not the last movie I've seen, but good times. I love the theater. Right now, lately I've been working a lot, doing all that home stuff, but I dove into the VR pool.
Really?
I got myself a nice VR headset, got a few peripherals. It's a little bit of work to set it up, but so far, blowing my mind.
What kind of VR did you go with? I
went with the Vive, just because it's got better room support. I don't really have a room for it yet, but I would like to at some point, so don't want to rebuy everything. But
So the idea is to get the VR to then eventually get into the room you need, which will eventually get you into the mansion that you need, and so forth, right? Just continue to build?
Yes, that's exactly the plan. My income needs to catch up a little bit, but we're getting there.
Right. So it's interesting, Stu. I was talking to, I think, my brother, and he was asking me who I'm having on the show, and I said, "Oh, I'm having Stu," and he says, "Well, who's Stu?" And I said, "Well," I was like, "Stu's a friend." And he's like, "Well, how did you meet him?" I was like, "Well, it's kind of an interesting story." I'm like, years ago, I was going to a local board game store down in Salt Lake, Game Night Games, and you were working there at the time. You were the night manager, I think. Is that correct?
I was one of the night managers, director of Living Card Games.
Right, and I was running the Game of Thrones living card game community at the time. And I was thinking back, that's been a little while, Stu.
It's been a few minutes, yeah, and that was the great Cold War of living card games between your Game of Thrones and my Netrunner group. The world doesn't realize how close they were to annihilation from that.
You know, it was funny because I never got into Netrunner, but it was more just because I didn't have any more time.
Right.
Not that I didn't want to, but it was like, it was one night a week, and at that time I was married. I had one kid at that time. Now I've got two, and it was just like I was doing other things. I was part of a magic club, not the Gathering, but cards, coins, that sort of thing. Also in a motorcycle club,
Right.
So I was really, really active with some charity work, and then a wife and a kid. And I remember I asked my wife, I said, "What did you think if I got into Netrunner?" And she's like, "No." And I was like, "Yes, dear." And that was kind of it, but
yeah, I've heard a lot of complaints about like Magic the Gathering, for example, with the investment and everything, and that's what living card games is supposed to fix. But you still have the time, you still have everything you need to get into, and the friendships and the building the decks, and there is a bit of a social obligation if you're going to get involved. And I think that was kind of what the challenge was at the time, was getting your group of people together, my group of people together,
right.
Trying to get people playing both games, but never having the time for both. It was a little crazy.
It was fun. Yeah, I look back fondly at those times because it's something that I wish I could go back and do again because I enjoyed it so much. I had so much fun. However, at this point in my life, I'm like, I don't know how I could ever make that work.
Yeah,
I've
bought the starters for all the other living card games as they've come out and thought, you know what, this will be the one. I'll have time again. And yet, no, that doesn't happen.
Now, I say that as I'm about ready to start a D&D campaign with some neighbors.
I'm a neighbor. I mean, just saying.
I know. I know. You actually live really close to me now.
Yeah.
Or I live really close to you now. I don't know who moved in first.
You moved in first, but just barely, I think.
Okay, then you live close to me. We'll go with that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so I've got this family that just like literally live like behind this little park area, and then on the other side of this fence, and they go to my church, and I found out they play D&D, and I was like, oh, you guys playing D&D? Why haven't you called me? I'm over here. I got a handbook. I got a monster manual. I got a DM guide. I got a screen. I got dice. Come on, let's do this.
And now I'm saying these things to you.
Okay.
So the big question, what edition are you playing? That's
5e.
What matters most. Nice.
Playing 5e. I've never played before. I got on and played on Roll20. It's an online website for those of you that may not know. And I played, this was maybe a couple weeks back now, maybe a month ago or so. And I played and I had a really fun time. It was just a one shot, it was a one night thing. We started at like 8 o'clock at night, and I think I finished up close to 2 in the morning, and I had to work the next day. I have not been that excited to play a game that late, besides like video games, in quite a while. And I also haven't regretted that so much in the morning in a long time because,
Right. No, I've played every version of D&D before 5th edition, and 5th is the only one I haven't had a chance to play. And what's weird is I have this gaming group that, and Damien,
yeah.
We get together every other Saturday, and we all have D&D books for 5th edition, but we also have hundreds of board games that we play, and D&D is just a commitment to time that we can't really get to, so.
Yeah, I can understand that. I'm going to see how this kind of goes, because I've got an idea, and you and I will have to talk off the podcast, because I think this might be up your alley, but I got an idea. I want to get a regular game going, and I want it to kind of be over the internet, because I know I've got some friends that want to play. However, I don't know if I want to use Roll20 or if we just want to go strictly right out of the books and do it on paper.
Yeah, I've done both. It's very different experiences. Even just like the immersion of the environment with people. Both have their benefits, both have their downsides.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to talk. Let's see. My week has been kind of crazy. I had to write down some notes because I did a lot this week, obviously.
The most important thing, though, did you get the cooker?
Yes, the pit barrel cooker. It arrived last week, and on Sunday for Easter, I smoked brisket and ribs, and it was glorious. My house still smells like brisket, ribs, and charcoal briquettes, which my wife probably kind of wishes it didn't. She mentioned when I got home, she says, hey, we need some Febreze. And I was like, what? Why? And she's like, the house smells like smoke. And I'm like, okay, well, you might have a point. It worked out really, really well. I'm in love with this thing. I made a lot, so I've got meal preps for the next 4 weeks of lunches.
That's worse than Thanksgiving.
I know, but I'm looking ahead going, okay, what can I do next? So we're talking about maybe doing a ham in there. We're talking about Thanksgiving, doing a turkey at Thanksgiving. I'm going to do some chicken. My boss has got, okay, this is crazy. My boss had one. He got the 22-gallon, and then I got the 30, and he was really jealous, so he bought a 30 to keep at the office.
Revenge purchase.
Right, yes. So he keeps bringing his little one in, and we cook on Fridays a lot, and we'll eat barbecue, and it's great. And then he wanted the 30. And then he says, now I'm using it a lot at home and I'm making food for people at home. I need the 30 at home. So he bought another one, another bigger one. And I was like, are you crazy? That's nuts. And then he says to me today, he says, well, my son's getting married in June and I'm going to be barbecuing up in the pit barrel cooker a whole bunch of chicken. He's like, so I'm going to have the big one at work, the big one at home, and then the small one. And I said, you can borrow mine if you need it. Because he's talking about barbecuing chicken and these things for 175 people. So I was like, wow. I'm like, that's ambitious. But I think he's going to do it the day before. He's going to barbecue all day long, and then he's going to just warm them back up in the oven to actually serve. That's a lot.
That's a lot of poultry.
It is. Anyway, so pit barrel cooker's great. We had my brother Josh and his wife and kids over yesterday. The boys wanted to play with their cousins. It was Easter. We did the whole normal, kid basket and Easter egg hunt in the backyard. And my kids were so sugared up. By the time bedtime hit, they had that crash. Oh, man. They were out. They were done. It was great.
Yeah, my daughter didn't get too sugared up, but her dad did. Eggs happened. I can't explain anything.
Yeah, jelly beans just kind of fell on the floor, and I had to pick them up, and They did make it to the trash. I don't know what happened.
I had a duty.
I like that the way I'm describing it. It's like it's a mafia hit or something. It's like, yeah, it fell off the back of a turnip truck and just made its way into my mouth. What can I say?
Yeah, rabbit fur and peanut butter everywhere.
Yeah. Let's see. I saw Ready Player One. I'm actually probably going to be recording a Sidekick podcast later this week with Ed Placencia. I'm in talks with. Let me just say, if you haven't seen this movie, I'm not going to go into it now, but I'm just going to say, go see this movie. It's a great movie. It did really well for its opening weekend. I think it made something like 130 million worldwide. It made like 58 million here domestic. And considering that this is not a big tentpole, superhero franchise Star Wars movie, the fact that it made 58 million over the weekend's pretty darn good.
No, that's definitely on my list. I have to admit, and I'm really ashamed, I have not seen Black Panther yet.
Ooh, really?
I know. Everything else, haven't gotten a chance. Been traveling a lot to Portland, but it's that or Ready Player One this week, and I don't know. That's a tough battle.
Get a movie pass and go see them both back to back.
You movie pass people.
I'm telling you, it's the way of the future, Stu.
I can't help but think there's some hidden catch in there. I mean, it really feels too good to be true.
So here's the thing. I bought it when it was $10 a month, and I saw that they just dropped it now to like $7 a month. And I wish I could go get another one and get rid of mine, but unfortunately, I kind of read the rules. You can't do that. If you like suspend one or cancel one, they won't let you sign back up for like another 9 months because they're trying to keep people from, bailing and getting the cheaper thing, which makes sense.
I've seen a lot of horror stories about people though that like two people in the same household they each have a movie pass and they go and one guy just buys 2 tickets on one of the cards without even really thinking about it. Suddenly they're in violation of service. Terms busted. They get canceled, and there's a lot of weird hiccups there that they're really quick to cancel, and that I think is part of what I'm afraid of too.
I haven't had any problems with it. I just have the one. My wife doesn't have one. I just use it the way, it's kind of meant to. I can use it once a day. I haven't had any problems. It came when it was supposed to come. It activated just fine. They just recently updated the app, and it's even easier now to find movies. I think I've probably, here, I can actually pull it up. I think I've gone and seen like 12 or 13 movies already this year with it.
There aren't that many movies I want to see every year. Well, I don't know. There weren't. Now MCU's taking care of that problem. Right.
Well, here's the thing. I've seen a few movies a couple times, and then in certain cases, let's just say wink, wink, have gone back the next day to see the movie that I just saw the night before. Wink, wink. I won't go into details, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, this is one of those violations of terms of service that we're going to be talking about with the Movie Pass folks here in a minute.
My name is Juan Ramirez Villalobos.
Wait a minute, that's my name.
I'm chief metallurgist. Sorry.
Right. No, all right. Maybe this is the excuse I need to go give that a shot.
I figure
because I did see the price drop. I've got a couple other friends that are absolutely crazy about it. What the hell? I need to see 2 movies this week, so that's the solution.
Of course, the problem will be you'll sign up tonight for it, and you still won't get your card for like 10 days. So that's the thing. You gotta be within 100 yards, check in on the app, then they load the money on the card, and then you go up to the kiosk or you go up to the little counter and talk to the person, and you swipe it. So you gotta wait for that physical card to come.
Well, that still gives me enough time to see Black Panther before Infinity Wars. So
absolutely. Here's the thing: if you're gonna go see a big movie, my recommendation is if you know like you're gonna go to like a late show that night and there's still tickets, go first thing in the morning when the theater opens, and that's when you purchase your ticket because it's still the same day, and you can get a good seat. I've done that a few times. But if you wait till the evening and just show up and buy your ticket, then you're going to be sitting in the front row.
So you can't use it to reserve seats online. You have to go in person to do that.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yep. So I just swing by the AMC or the Cinemark over here, just by Layton Hills Mall, or Syracuse, and I'll just come like I got up, when was it, Friday morning? No, Thursday morning, I think. And Anyway, I came back for something. I needed to pick up something back at the house, like around 10 o'clock, coincidentally. And then I just went over there, checked in, purchased my ticket for that night at 9 o'clock or 9:15 show, and bang, I was back to work, and I had the ticket in my pocket, and I just showed back up, and I had a great seat. And
my office is actually at the Jordan Commons office building, so that's super convenient.
Yeah, you can schedule nice long lunch breaks.
Yeah, no, we do that. I mean, it's kind of our own hours, but then I have to drive into Salt Lake. I'm used to working from home these days, but that's as good excuse as any.
Well, at least when you go into the office, but
yeah.
Anyway, that's my week. I also went and saw Dave Ramsey event that was on that I was going to talk about, but listen, just do the right thing, be smart with your money, read his books. They're awesome. It's helped me significantly reduce debt. You're good.
We may need to talk offline about that as well then.
Okay. I love it. Like I've been an avid follower of his for the last few years. My boss turned me on to him, sent me to an event, and I've been following that, and I'm close to paying off our last credit card, and then I just have my student loans and the mortgage, and that's it. So it's been a good few years.
How would that be?
Dave Ramsey's the man. So anyway, that's all I got. Let's jump into some Rebel Intelligence. What do you say?
Let's do it.
I always have to let you know, many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Rest in peace, you Bothans.
All right, Stu, Rebel Intelligence. You know, it is, as I say, the guest gets the spot of honor, so kick us off. What do you got for us this week?
Well, life-size Star Wars and Guardians of the Galaxy's toys, huge toys, they're just freaking everywhere. You can't get away from them. I mean, I think this is really a product of Comic-Cons, adults with disposable incomes, all coming together. Geekdom is huge. Geekdom is kind of taking people by surprise, but if you look at, say, 70s and 80s, people with money spend it on something, whether it was cars or whatever the case may be. Geekdom is popular now, so of course, this is just coming out of nowhere. People want the biggest, baddest things. There's this huge Death Trooper. That thing is ominous, and if
the one from Rogue One, right?
The one from Rogue One. If you have that, you're like right inside your front door, next to the wherever you're hanging your coats, and that's the perfect way to greet a guest, in my opinion. It really tells them something that A, you're a Star Wars fan, and B, they should be afraid to enter your home.
I think it'd be great if you had a daughter and you could like place that right next to a gun rack that's visible from the front living room maybe, and be like, look, it's over your shoulder, like, if you mess with my daughter,
well, right? Conveniently enough for this argument, I have two of them. One of them's an adult and she takes care of herself just fine, but the other one, yeah, we could use a Death Trooper to provide some intimidation. But there's also this Marvel Iron Man light-up spinner suitcase. I travel a lot to Portland, and I see people with these smart suitcases, and they can't take them on the planes anymore. And so it's just the fact that technology has hit suitcases in the first place is a little bit crazy to me. But Iron Man, I think
why
that
does it need
says
to light
something.
up? That's my question. Why do you need your suitcase to light up? Like you're not going to notice what it is when it's on the little, turntable thing. You're trying to get it.
Well, if you have like 4 people with Iron Man suitcases, the one that's lit up is yours. Hopefully the battery's still good. I mean, it's a short flight to Portland, but anyway.
No. I'm sorry, sir. Mine lights up and makes sound effects. Is that just press it? Does the arc reactor sound? Oh yeah, that's mine. That's mine, sir.
Mine actually has Tony Stark come and fly into it. Obviously mine.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's crazy. There's tons of these things. The Infinity War Thor statue, I think, kind of takes the piece de resistance Frenchy. It's
dirty
just,
Frenchy.
Dirty Frenchy. It's got all these lightning effects and everything. It's just a statue. I mean, I don't know. Those things, it's crazy.
It's cool.
It's crazy to see what people will spend money on, myself included. But this kind of stuff is just... I would love to have all of these in just like my basement or something, just kind of circled around my gaming table.
Yeah. I found that as I've grown older and I've got more responsibilities fiscally speaking, it's harder to justify some of the purchases that I would love to make versus like what I actually do make. And I was looking, I was like, what's the nerdiest thing that I own? I was trying to think of that, like, what's the biggest, nerdiest thing? And I realized I actually have a stormtrooper suit that I could wear if I was in a little bit better shape. That's in a box downstairs in my basement. And I went, yeah, I think I dropped about $1,000 to get all the pieces and all the boots and the replica, blaster. I'm like, that may be it. That may take the cake.
Yeah. Well, this VR for me is right now kind of that. I'm not just the VR stuff. I'm looking at like cradles to set the headset in to keep it nice and pristine, and all the little accoutrements. So yeah, it's crazy to feel enabled to do that, but then also feel a little bit warned every time I see something.
Yeah.
But so what you're saying though is that you don't have the Han Solo sneakers?
No, I don't have the new Han Solo sneakers.
Segue right into that. Oh my gosh. So, I mean, while I get the life-size statues,
yeah,
the Han Solo sneakers, that to me just, you walk around with the stormtrooper helmet on your head, people know exactly what you've got.
Sure.
You walk around with Han Solo sneakers, I'm not so sure that anyone's even going to recognize them. They don't look that great in the first place. And unless you're wearing a full Han Solo getup, and you're just trying to make sure the shoes don't, contrast to everything else, I don't get the point.
I compare this as like an accessory, like belt buckles, right? You see the guys that have like you go to like a Comic-Con and you see belt buckles. It's like Captain America or Superman or Green Lantern or, Deadpool, whatever. But that's like the equivalent of like wearing a belt buckle, but then wearing a long shirt that covers the belt buckle. It's like you've got it on. You maybe feel cool internally, but no one can see it. I looked at those sneakers and I went, yeah, I think only going to a con, someone might recognize that. Just walking down the street, people will be like, yeah, he's wearing black sneakers with some red paint on it or something.
That's what the kids are into these days.
Those kids. Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of what the kids are into, Fortnite. Have you played Fortnite at all?
I didn't even know Fortnite was a thing. I'm having a really hard time keeping up. I'm not a first-person shooter guy.
Okay.
PUBG was everywhere, though.
Right.
And that's all I hear and see anything about. And then, actually, I did see something about Fortnite just before prepping. And, I didn't know it was, A, that big, B, that it even existed. So what's interesting to me is that of course, I know about PUBG because PUBG kind of seems to be a little more adult-themed, but then all of a sudden recently people have been talking about Fortnite. They're like, oh yeah, Fortnite kind of does that too, blah, 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 the kind of whole PUBG thing. And then all of a sudden, just like recently, like a week or two ago, you had a popular Twitch streamer, Ninja, streaming with Drake playing Fortnite, and that thing got like 1 million hits or something, some like crazy, like 600,000 concurrent views on Twitch watching this game, like just crazy numbers. So of course, I'm curious, like because it seems like everyone's shifting to Fortnite. So I played Fortnite for the first time this week, and I played three battle mode matches, or three, survival matches. I don't know what they call it. I think it's battle mode. The 100 where you try to be the last guy. My first game, I got to 5th place. My second game, I was like 50th, and my last game, I was 14th. And it's an interesting game because it's essentially, it's a Hunger Games, basically, right? You're dropped on an island. It's a shrinking, area. You've got to stay within inside. You try to kill everyone. You try to outlast. But the thing is, this game's got this building mechanism also, so you can toss up walls or like stairs or whatever. I've seen some pretty crazy things that people put together.
Oh, it's nuts. Here's the thing, though, that's really interesting. People are going nuts right now because, and this sounds so silly to me, but I love it because of this. People are going nuts because they're looking up into the sky in Fortnite and they're seeing this moon or this asteroid or some sort of celestial body that's in the sky that's moving slightly or moving a little bit, and people don't know what it is. It's a Chinese satellite, yes. It's going to hit somewhere in the South Pacific. But people are starting to freak out because you can kind of see it during the daytime, you can see it at night, and so they don't know if it's going to be some sort of, something that's going to drop in DLC. And the funny thing is like people have been reaching out to Epic Games, which does Fortnite, asking, like what it is. And they sent back it's the little picture of the meme with the guy that looks like he's freaking, what's his name? Owen Wilson's with Luke Wilson.
Guy.
Yeah, it's the alien guy, right? And so there's all these conspiracy theories, like it's, this, it's going to do this, it's going to destroy the map, it's going to destroy parts of the towers, blah, 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 whatever. And I just love that, like, this game is becoming all-consuming. It's on all these platforms. It's on mobile now. And people aren't talking about, like, crazy winds. No, they're talking about a comet that's in the sky that's coming to destroy all Fortnite humanity. I just love it. It seems silly. It seems goofy. And I love that Epic Games is like not getting real about what's going on, and they're just playing around with people. I think that's fun.
No, that's fantastic. And I did see that. And I've loved, there's always been this attempt to connect gamers in a meta kind of way to what you're doing. Like, I've been into massively multiplayer role-playing games forever. EverQuest had this Halloween thing every year. It's not part of the game, but it's something that kind of ties into your own culture. So if you can reach players in a certain way to do those kinds of things, that's fantastic. And then creating this mystique around this comet, it's pretty phenomenal that you can get people so unified in a message of trying to figure out what this is and to solve puzzles, which is the Reddit thing to do. If there's a puzzle, they're going to come together and solve it no matter what it is. So
right, exactly.
This is a fantastic way to reach them, absolutely.
Yeah, I like it. I'm down with stuff like this.
That actually had me more interested than anything else about Fortnite, to be honest.
than the game.
Yeah.
It's a fun game, but my strategy is like, screw the building aspect. Just get inside that circle, find a spot where you can kind of hide and keep good sight lines to watch out, and just try to last as far as you can down to the end. If I only have to kill one guy, pull the trigger once, and I can win, that's the way I want to play.
There you go.
A lot of sitting around, though, twiddling my thumbs.
That's what I do naturally. Hey, maybe I have a future in Fortnite. Be a streamer.
There you go. All right, what else you got for me?
Oh, I can't get away from Star Wars, my friend. We have these huge statues. We have these crazy solo feats, but
solo feet.
It's the left shoe.
Yeah.
Hopefully the other shoe will drop sometime. But you're right. Largest Star Wars toy ever from Hasbro. Do you know what it is?
Did they do it?
Did you know what it? Did you hear anything about it before prep?
So I talked about this a couple weeks ago, but they were trying to fund this. So you're talking this is the HasLab, the Jabba sail barge, right?
Yes.
Did they do it?
I need it. Yes, they're producing it.
Really? No.
Yeah. So they needed 5,000 people to pledge 500. They've got 2.5 million raised and going. Wow. I'm sure it's actually probably like over 3. If I hadn't have bought the VR, I might have pulled the trigger on
Really?
This thing's huge.
I know. It says it's like 6 feet long, right? Or something like that?
Yep.
It's massive.
I would break it because I would have little parties on it.
So when I originally saw that they were doing this, I kind of poo-pooed on the whole idea because it's the idea of like, it's not the Jabba sail barge itself, but the idea of like they were kind of crowdfunding toys. They're like, well, we're only going to make this if we get this many. Because I'm like, okay, you're a big toy company, and I made the argument at the time. You're a big toy company, just make it and freaking sell it. And if it's the company trying to make sure that they're holding up their end to shareholders and try not to take risks. And I think it was Peter Christensen that wrote in and kind of turned me around a little bit and saying, well, look at it this way. Only people that are going to want this thing are going to want this thing. And so it's a really good way for a company to gauge whether or not that it's worth investing the R&D time and modeling and putting it all together and doing the production run and just selling just what they make and not making more of it. And it helps. Right. It helps the company, and it also fulfills a need for those with disposable incomes.
Yeah, I have a need to shed that every now and then. No, I have been a participant in crowdsourcing and kickstarting for quite a few things. It's a phenomenal avenue of getting a product out for board games, right? That's what I primarily use it for. But when you have Kickstarter exclusives and you're not planning to go to retail with something or something that you have a huge investment and time sink into, like with this barge, yeah, you overmake a product that doesn't do well, and that's financial ruin. That's hurting somebody's paycheck, right? Somebody's getting laid off. Yep. But if you know exactly what you're making to and you produce exactly to that number, then you're golden. And of course, there's going to be a resale market, and they're going to be up on eBay for $1,000 in a week or so.
Right.
But if you really wanted it that bad, chip into the 500 level in the first place.
So I'm not 100% on board with big companies doing this. I get it. It does make smart business sense. I kind of feel at the same time it's like, I want it, but it's like, I don't know if that's something I want to drop $500 for, because there's other things I need to do in my life. But it makes good business sense. So I've kind of turned around a little bit on it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a collector item. This is not a mass market. This is not something they want to put in everybody's home. Right.
Now, would I want this if I could afford it? Yes, absolutely. I would be getting a GoPro, and I would be doing some filming, and because to me, this is like the size of the model they probably used for the original movie when they filmed it.
Actually bigger, I think.
Dang.
And
really?
And of course, memory is skewed, but I did watch, all the special features when the trilogy came out on DVD finally, and but yeah, I would say it was like maybe 3-4 feet. But,
so bigger than the original. That's the American way.
Of course, I'm going to be wrong. Hopefully, someone can prove me wrong. But and now I'm going to have to go watch the DVDs later, which means I'm going to be up late, not playing D&D. Just saying.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah. It's funny. I didn't know if they were actually going to make this. I secretly had harbored maybe a bit of resentment because I knew I wasn't going to get into this. And so I was like, I hope they don't make it. I'm like, screw them for trying to make money off of people like me.
Actually, so this is 49 inches long.
Oh, 49 inches long.
So just over 4 feet. I would be interested to know if they built it to scale of the original model. Somewhere there has to be information on that, and I'm going to find it.
Okay, super friends, if you're out there listening and you know this detail, hit me up, get it Twitter, get me on Facebook. I don't call the voicemail, get the email. You know where to go. Let us know. Help us out.
Needs to know.
I got to know this. Okay, so I got something for you here. We've been talking a lot, and last week we actually kind of talked about Netflix quite a bit with the Steven Spielberg controversy, but Netflix is now, looks like they're going to be purchasing Luc Besson's company, Europa Corp, which is basically the company that made the movie Valerian, which looked really good in the previews, and then I never saw it. I think it's on Netflix now, but they also produced, the Hitman movies, Lucy, and then Taken, which is probably the one most people I would guess have at least seen. What's interesting about this is that Netflix has been gobbling up more and more kind of like independent studios, and I get, because they're trying to get more content, they're trying to find more quality. But the interesting thing about this is that they're going after this company that kind of seemed like it was kind of riding up on a high wave, but now it's kind of coming back down some. But my guess is with this acquisition that this isn't necessarily so much for the current movies that have been produced, but more to get into some other markets in Europe. Because I believe that this is a French company, if I'm correct.
Right.
I think.
Yeah, I did look that over. That they're French, so they probably got them for a good deal, and they surrendered.
Yeah. Oh, they rolled right over. By the way, no one in France listens to this podcast, so we're safe.
Sort of making sure of that fact. No, yeah. It's interesting. So I work in a business that we deal with a lot of acquisitions, and I'm a consultant for software implementations, and we do a lot of acquisitions. So seeing this, kind of come up and hearing about it is interesting, because it's not just a viable strategy for adopting, like new skill sets or new people or another branch. Sometimes it's a matter of you want the resources, and it's not even really the people that are involved. So I just see this as an opportunity that could have happened for any number of reasons, anybody's guess. I hadn't seen Valerian either. It looked great, but never really kind of got around to it because there's a million other better things, I think.
Right.
But it does, I think everything that they get, and it may just even be a matter of numbers, the more studios that they can get with at least people who are skilled in the profession to be able to make movies that, Netflix can turn around. That's another Netflix production. That's one fewer Amazon Prime potentially.
Right.
I mean, I don't think it's a really big deal, but I think it's just a really important part of their overall process to growth.
Well, the other thing too is that they've got an interesting business model, Netflix that is, where they've got to license a bunch of movies, right? So that's all they were doing originally, licensing movies. So you only get it for a certain period of time, then you got to pay more money. People want to increase their fees. Now that they're going out and purchasing production companies and they're getting all these Netflix originals, they don't have to license it. They own it in perpetuity. It's theirs. They're going to continue making money off it over and over and over and over again, and not have to worry about raising of fees. And so I see this as smart. However, I don't like that what I see happening, right? Because you've got Hulu, you've got Amazon Prime or Amazon Video, I guess technically, but
Amazon Prime Video.
Yeah, Amazon Prime Video. You got Netflix. Disney's going to be getting into the game. Ugh. You've got things like CBS All Access, which is kind of their own, the TV behind the paywall, which just kills me. You're going to start seeing this more and more, and I have a strong feeling we're going to get to a point where we're going to get a big fracture where the idea used to be you could become a cord cutter, you could go with Netflix, or you could go with Hulu, and between those two, you could pretty much have access to everything and anything. But it's going to start splintering more and more because corporations are going to want their piece of the pie. They're going to want to get in on it. And the next thing you know, it's going to be this thing where you've got to have like 7 different memberships to see all the content that you want to see on a regular basis, which means you might as well just pay a cable bill and get it all on cable and DVR it because it's going to be the same dang cost.
Well, right. And you're absolutely right. And I agree. And it's, there's a saturation point though where things can only splinter so much. And if you look at, premium cable before, you had HBO, Showtime, Cinemax. There were a lot that tried, but really there wasn't room in the market for more than the big players. And I think we're starting to branch into that now. Hulu is a little bit obscure, and I know people either love or hate Hulu. I do have Amazon Prime. I do have Netflix. I originally hated the idea that they were losing their licensing, and I'm like, look, we're paying you all this money. Pony up, pay the licenses, get us the good stuff.
Right.
But the funny thing is now, year and a half, 2 years later, I find I'm watching more original Netflix content than anything else. I'm not going to movies as much. I'm binging on these series that I can watch at my own pace and control, which is exactly why I got the cable in the first place.
Right.
They're doing good stuff. Amazon has a couple.
But well, it's like every single time, like a new episode, a new season of Stranger Things, or a new Marvel show. Like Jessica Jones just came out, and I'm trying to catch up on Punisher right now before I move into Jessica Jones season 2.
So good.
It's like all this stuff happens. I'm like, this stuff is good quality, and I'm with you. I'm streaming a lot of that. However, I just paid for Hulu for the first time like a month or 2 ago because I wanted to finish. What was it? I wanted to finish Life in Pieces. It's a TV show on CBS, and the first season was on Netflix. And my wife and I really loved it. It was really, really funny, smart, very well written show. And season 2 is not on Netflix, but it was on Hulu. So I was like, I'll use the free month. And I didn't go the cheap one. I went for the $12 a month because I don't have commercials that way.
I hate commercials.
It's been like 2 months since then, I think now, and I still have Hulu because I'm still using it for a few shows that used to be on Netflix but now aren't, and I never got to them when they were Netflix. So
yeah, this is just a new face to the same war because that was really what it was between HBO, Showtime, between Sony, Nintendo, whatever it is, whoever's got the exclusive title, you can bank a whole subscription on 1 or 2 really good shows. Stranger Things is perfect because Stranger Things is not something that could have worked on any other medium in any other format. It couldn't have been a weekly serial. It couldn't have been a movie. Netflix was perfect for that, and that's what we're going to get more of.
And it's going to get a lot of people playing D&D. Just saying.
Yeah, that couldn't have happened at a better time either for D&D for sure.
Right. It's
hopefully
like, oh hey, we're more relevant now than ever because kids on a TV show from 20 years are playing it.
I think by the time we're done talking tonight, we're going to see some other things from the 80s come up. I just premonition there.
Do you want to bet, say, let's say a diet tab on that?
Oh my God. Well, we are in Utah. That's still a thing that exists, only here. But
Only
no, I was
here.
thinking of Fresca.
Ah, Fresca. Or how about Squirt, maybe?
Oh, mellow yellow.
Ooh, there you go.
Do you have a whole premise for a whole new show right here?
How many 1980s pops can we mention
Shasta.
on podcast? Fago.
Oh, man.
Fago's the Midwest version of Shasta.
Yeah, we need to stop before I keep going.
Okay, what else do you got for me?
Oh, so to shift gears just a little bit, so I love sci-fi, but my true calling came from fantasy. When I grew up, Lord of the Rings was the thing. I had these niche nerd friends when it was not cool to be a geek, not cool to be a nerd. Talk about Lord of the Rings out loud, you're going to get a swirly. That's kind of how it went.
Oh, for sure.
But, so, Lord of the Rings, J.R.R. Tolkien, his stuff. But then, even in that, you had this subculture, a few levels deep into the basement, that wanted to learn Elvish, Dwarvish, learn all the runes, get deep into the lore, deep. I did not get that deep, but I had a friend who did, and he would write in Elven, and this was before Google. Nowadays you can go find, Elvish translators and everything. This was the guy that did that before there was internet.
Right.
And, but, so what's interesting though is J.R.R. Tolkien has done a lot of documentaries over the time, and a lot of them were, if you're into it, it's great to look at, but even he thinks that Elvish is too complicated.
Really?
That it's not something that he was really wrapping his mind around, and it's funny to me, but I kind of get it. I've had this idea for a story I've been kicking around for like 20 years. Never actually wrote it because I'm not a writer, and dear God, nobody ever wants to read what I've written. But when you start thinking about characters, you, or at least I have, and I would like to think that I'm just like J.R.R. like this. I'm the Tolkien hipster. You don't want to do a disservice to your characters by being lazy, right? You don't want to think that they all spoke English and that they're all white guys and that, they're just a stereotype trope down the board. You want to give them some depth, and, elves, obviously they have a language of their own. Maybe it's not, maybe it is. I could see him just thinking himself down a rabbit hole on how to develop this Elvish language, and it being something that kind of grew on its own and he couldn't get away from, because there is so much Elvish content in his books. And I mean, the history of the elves and everything else, it was just, I think it's something he had to do, not something he really even wanted to do.
What's interesting about Professor Tolkien is that super smart guy, right? First of all, I mean, like he wrote amazing books, very detailed, but like super smart in that like he not only wrote a story, but he wrote languages to go along with the races. I mean, that he had, he had, histories for a whole continent, for a planet, right? For this whole land, he delved into these things. And what fascinates me about him and guys like him, like George R.R. Martin or Patrick Rothfuss or, even Brandon Sanderson, these guys that are considered kind of like world builders, right? That how far do you take that? Like, how far down that rabbit hole do you go in order to establish your narrative and history to your narrative, and the differences between Sindarin Elven speak, versus like
there's like six different Elven languages,
right? Like how detailed do you get? And I look at it and I've always thought like I think writing a book, I think writing a story would be fascinating. However, I realize like I think my skill is more of as a storyteller versus like a world builder like Professor Tolkien is. I love listening to his stuff. I love reading his stuff. But I'm kind of like you. I love it, and I've loved it for a long, long, long time before it was cool. But I never was like, you know what? I need to learn how to write Elvish. That's a skill that I need in my life. I've never had that thought.
You never thought to yourself when you were a kid, 20 years from now, I'm going to run into that one other guy that speaks Elvish, and we're going to be able to talk.
No, but I did try to learn a little Klingon at one point.
I was just going to bring that up. There's these. Oh, what is it? There's one of the major. Is it Babelfish or something? Anyway, one of the major language learning things actually has a Klingon course now.
Really?
And it's like University of Indiana had a Klingon course. Like they were the first.
You can't see it, but way back behind me is a bookshelf. And years and years and years ago, I think it was when Star Trek Generations came out, my dad took me to go see Generations in the theater, and there was these two women that were dressed up like Klingons, and my dad thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And I was wearing my Star Trek Next Generation Data t-shirt, and my dad wanted to get a picture with us next to these Klingon women. I think my dad actually had like a secret crush on him and was a little turned on, but he's not here, so I can't confirm that anymore. But we took this picture, and then that Christmas, I got a English to Klingon dictionary. It was the first book that was published, and I still have that up on the shelf. I've had it for all these years, and occasionally I'll try to learn a little Klingon, and then I'll use it on my boys, and they just look at me and think I'm making up a language. And then I just make up sounds that sound like Klingon because they'll never know. But here's something I'm gonna tell you, and I'll tell the Super Friends as well. And please try not to judge me too harshly because I'm not very proud of it.
I think the show comes with that disclaimer that judgment can't be allowed.
Yeah, this is going to be a little different, though.
Now I'm intrigued.
Years ago, I would have been maybe a freshman in high school, and I was reading. I had not rented, but I had taken out from the library The Fellowship of the Ring, and it was towards the end of the year, and I'm reading this, and I was really engrossed in the book, and I realized I had like 3 days left of school, and I still had like 4 chapters to go in the first book, and I desperately wanted to read the next ones.
Oh, Spence.
So I took an extended library checkout policy, and I took the other 2 books. I managed to smuggle them out of my high school library so I could read them over that summer. And the sad thing is I forgot to take them back, and I just like completely blanked it for years and years and years. And then finally, just a couple of years ago, I was looking at my books, and I've got multiple copies of The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and the Silmarillion up on my bookshelf that I've been collecting over the years. And I was like, oh yeah, these were the first ones I had. And I started looking through it, and I opened it up, and I realized there was the little slot to put the little card in there. And I was like, oh. And then I see them stamped Sycamore High School, and I was like,
you, sir, are a burglar.
I was like, I'm Bilbo. What can I say?
Frodo would be ashamed.
Yeah. Needless to say, something I have to rectify, because I was like, I need to do that and get them back. I'm probably just going to go buy them nice copies and send them to them as a Christmas gift and be like, I'm sorry.
You need to send the originals, though. You have to send the originals with the new copies.
I think so. And like, sorry, 20 years ago, I accidentally purposely took these for over the summer, and they never made their way back, and that was my bad.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you're not the first school library book to wander away, but shame on you. Shame on you.
Yeah, I know. I'm a horrible, horrible, horrible hobbit. What can I say? So I've got two more things here that I wanted to get to. Did you see the first Jurassic World, the kind of the reboot of the Jurassic Park franchise?
I did. And you say reboot, much like Force Awakens was a reboot. It came after, but yeah, just reskin the same thing.
Right, exactly. I like Jurassic World. I thought that was a really fun movie, but once again, it was pretty much the first movie just being told over again. But that was directed by Colin Trevorrow, and Colin Trevorrow actually had got hired on to write Episode 9 of Star Wars. He was going to do the Episode 9, and then that got taken back from him, or he left. I don't quite remember, but there was something just wasn't kind of working out right there, and so J.J. Abrams stepped back in there. Well, now Colin Trevorrow is going to return to direct the third Jurassic World movie. So, of course, we got this new Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom getting ready to come out. So this will be kind of the second in the what we'll call the Jurassic World trilogy. And then for the third one, Colin Trevorrow is going to come back. I'm okay with this. I like the idea that he's going to kind of bookend what he kind of started with this, and hopefully it'll be well.
He also wrote part 2, so it's he hasn't been completely divorced from it.
Right.
So he's been involved, but no, I think so. Since Last Jedi, I'm a little more critical of directors than I typically have been lately, but I think he did good with the direction. I mean, I think the movie had a really good pace. Anything that may have been kind of repetitive about it wasn't necessarily due to him. I think it was done well enough. Enough that I want to see part 2 and later part 3. So, I mean, it's good. I think there's continuity there.
I'm really, really leery of part 2 of The Fallen Kingdom, only because as I famously called it on an episode of the podcast we did, it looks like this whole story revolves around kind of like a PETA idea, like, we've got to go back and save the animals, you murderer. It's like, wait a minute. These are murderous animals that were designed not to be around. They're extinct for a reason, and we in our just arrogance decided to bring them back from extinction, and all hell breaks loose, but now we have to save these poor dinosaurs? Give me a freaking break. It's a T-Rex. It's going to eat you. I see this and I just,
my hope for that is that they show the fallacy of that.
I hope so.
Like, I mean, if it really ends up that the social justice clerics at the end of the day win the battle, I will be disappointed. I hope I get where they're coming from. I get that they want to incorporate ethics into the story. All good science fiction has it.
Sure.
But at the same time, it can go so way too far, and I hope that's not lost on them.
You want to protect a dog, a cat, a fish, a hamster, an elephant, I'm with you. If you're that concerned about a T-Rex, I have to draw the line somewhere. Extinct animals that can murder everyone on the entire face of the planet. They're like impervious to firearms and nuclear weapons, and they're just. That's where I've got to draw the line, PETA. I'm sorry.
So is it the protecting of them, or is it necessarily that we're exploiting them? Like, where would you draw the line on what's too far to be overly concerned about dinosaurs? Let's really explore this, Spence.
As a child, I read a book, and it scarred me in a way that made me want to save all the dinosaurs. I felt
really sympathetic to the wild things.
That poor brontosaurus has such a small little brain. Why can't we protect it? It's. I honestly, I think I look at this and it's more of the. I'm okay with injecting ethics into sci-fi, because you're right, that's always there. But this is like, we're taking a somewhat reasonable argument that PETA may make, about let's protect, from animal cruelty. Let's apply to dinosaurs? I understand when you go to a zoo and you see a giraffe or a zebra and it looks like it just wants to die. I understand why you'd say, okay, let's release this. But it's like, hey, let's release this, raptor, this pack of raptors, because it looks really depressed. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Do you love your children? Oh, you do? You don't want them eaten by raptors? Let's keep that raptor in that pen then.
Well, I don't know, Spence. If you really loved your children, you wouldn't have supported the dinosaur theme park by buying their tickets.
Man, I ain't got that kind of cash. I can't get a $500 Java sail barge, let alone fly to Isla Nublar with my whole family.
Sail the sail barge across the ocean to wherever they are.
Oh, man.
3 birds, 1 stone.
I love it. That's too funny.
There's still a boat like in Grand Theft Auto or something.
Yeah. So the last thing I had, I thought this was really interesting because Grand Theft Auto 5 is a big, massive game. Like, that game's still, people are still purchasing that game, which is crazy. Personally, I haven't played a Grand Theft Auto game since, I think, Vice City, which came out, after 3. It was, the PS2 era. Because it just kind of got to the point where I was like, you know what? Do I really want to be running around, ripping people off, and, beating hookers in parking lots to collect a few coins and try to run from the police? It doesn't maybe mesh necessarily with who I am as a person. Right. Run from the cops and steal a helicopter. So it's not a game I play a ton, But what's really interesting is in the last couple iterations, they kind of do these little like one-off artworks that you'll see. Like there's a picture, one of the main images they used looks like Kate Upton. And basically they came out, they're like, yeah, we pretty much modeled it on Kate Upton. And, so anyway, there's this picture though of a woman who's supposed to be, she's being arrested, and she looks very much like Lindsay Lohan. And Lindsay Lohan basically took Take Two to court over using her likeness. And it's, back and forth, bounced around a little bit. Like they try to dismiss the suit in 2016 that it didn't happen. Well, now a New York Supreme Court judge has actually ruled against Lohan, saying basically that this is not a direct portrait of Lindsay Lohan, that it's basically like a characterization, that they're not really her. They're claiming it's another character. It does look different enough that someone could look at it and not necessarily think Lindsay Lohan. So they're kind of basically throwing it out. It's just interesting because we're freaking litigating over a picture that could be construed to look like you. I just think she's upset because it shows her getting arrested, and it's like a paparazzi's taking a picture, and because she's been through that a time or two in her life.
She's being triggered.
That's right. That's right.
No, I don't know. So I've reviewed this. I've looked it over. And there's two main thoughts here for me. One is, does it look like Lindsay Lohan? And I really don't see it. I think she is generic bubblegum chewing young adult that,
I think she's much better looking than Lindsay Lohan.
She doesn't, yeah. I'm not even going to explore that thought any further.
Doesn't look like she's been doing meth, yeah.
Right. Okay, well, thanks for taking it where I wouldn't. But the other is the idea about parody. Like,
right.
What medium do you consider valid parody? Because parody is protected by law. Otherwise, we wouldn't have Weird Al Yankovic, right? That's his entire, that's his empire, and it's phenomenal. And I mean, he's been sued by many people. I don't think he's ever had to settle. Because it's an obvious parody take on something, and even if that was Lindsay Lohan, I don't know why they would uphold that. But I mean, and I read that article as well, and apparently though, it is only because it doesn't look like her to them. And
right.
That if it had, that she would have had a valid case. And that's the part that blows my mind here.
Yeah. This is one of these things where I look at it and I'm saying, okay, does this image ruin your potential earning ability? No. Your choices are affecting that.
Right. If anything, it makes her relevant for another 30 seconds.
That's what I'm saying. And so, kind of roll with it. I didn't see Kate Upton suing over the fact that they pretty much took her likeness and used it to model for one of their images. I think she kind of was like, yeah, I pretty much am flattered, and, it looks like me, and I know that's what they based it on, and, let's move on.
I think all the bald white guys with goatees in Grand Theft Auto were actually modeled after me, and I'm flattered.
There you go. Did they actually ask you to model, or did you just send in pics on your own?
Oh, I sent many pics.
Uh-huh.
Let's talk about that. They wouldn't even use them in that game. So.
Right. No, this is called Grand Theft Auto. You're playing a different kind of game here.
I don't know. Listening to some of the radio shows or whatever they had it while you were driving your car, you wouldn't really know it. No, I'm with you. I actually had some fun in it up around Vice City as well. I've played the new one, but I don't have anything against it, and if that's what people are having fun doing and can, draw a line between that and reality, great. But it really just doesn't pull me in.
Yeah, it's just not for me. Plus, the other thing is, with small kids, I'm always kind of conscious of what I'm playing and what's being played. So I have headphones I'll listen to if I'm playing a game that's more adult, even if it's late at night, because I don't want my kids to come downstairs and be like, Daddy, what's that sound? Why is that person saying that naughty word? Why is that person being murdered graphically in front of my eyes?
Well, he took my drugs. What else was I going to do?
Right, son. When she steps out of line, that's what you do. I mean, I can't. And so as a responsible father, I try not to play a lot of stuff
Well, I think that with my 7-year-old, but then there's the time actually that my 21-year-old and I were actually trying to coordinate being able to play together. So, tomato, potato.
Yeah, exactly. That's all I had in Rebel Intelligence. Stu, did you have anything else?
No, sir. Let's do it.
Let's move on. Okay, so last week, Stu, we had a conversation about with Peter Christensen. He was on the podcast. We had a conversation about the idea of watching big movies in the theater, or with everything that's streaming, you're watching content, waiting till it comes home, waiting till it can stream digitally, whether that's through, like iTunes or Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime. Let me ask you, if you have to pick, are you going to choose watching stuff at home, or are you going to choose going to the theater for like big movie events?
I'm probably not the best target audience for that question. I have a pretty decent system at home. I've got a 4K TV. I've got a big screen in my living room. I've got a great sound system. I've got the experience that I want when I'm watching a movie at home. And part of that, to be honest, comes from being a lifelong introvert. I don't do great at crowds, especially like big movies, being surrounded by a bunch of kids that are screaming or some guy kicking me in the back of the chair. That to me is not a great experience.
That only happened once, and I said I was sorry, okay?
Well, that's why we haven't seen anything since episode 7. But
yeah, yikes.
Yeah, no, so like the Star Wars movies, I intentionally buy tickets to see them at like 9, 10 o'clock in the morning when I know that the kids are in school. And it's great, but if I see a movie in the evening, I get upset about something, inevitably. There have been exceptions, and I do enjoy a movie, but honestly, for me, it's at home.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense, and I can understand that. Let's see what some of our super friends had to say. So we're going to go over to the voicemail, because we got a voicemail and we haven't had one in a little while. So let's see what we have to say here.
What's up, Fortress of Nerditude? This is Paul Calico, coming at you with my movie streaming at home or going to the theaters question. I could go both ways. I love going to the theater to see the big screens, but I can also enjoy sitting at home drinking a beer. Anyway, keep up the good work, guys. Else time.
Okay, so that was Paul Calicote, and what I take from this is Paul Calicote goes both ways. He can do the home or he can do the movie theater, but I just like that he says he goes both ways, because I think I'm gonna have some fun with him on Twitter about that.
Yeah, I mean, this was about movies. How do you want to see them? Didn't have to make it any more awkward than that. I get it, though.
Yeah, I get it, too. Like I said, I was saying last week, I really like when there's a new big movie, like, I don't want to wait for Avengers Infinity War to hit streaming.
Sure.
I want to see that in the theater. I want the big experience. I've gone to the Harry Potters and the Star Wars at opening nights at midnight, back when that used to be a thing, because now like opening nights like a Thursday at 7 p.m. It's a little weird.
And I have something to say to them about release dates in the day before. That just confuses me.
Yeah, but it used to be like a big deal. Like, you'd go a few hours early, you'd stand in line.
God. I stood in line for hours for Return of the Jedi. Hours.
Right. But that was like, that was a thing. And now it's like, I just buy my ticket online, I show up, I've got an assigned seat, but still there is something for seeing something on opening day with people that are like diehards.
Sure.
But some movies I can wait till they come streaming, and now with MoviePass, as Peter Christensen kindly points out, it's my backhanded compliment where I say, yeah, I'd MoviePass that.
Right.
Because it's like, I'm not going to pay money for it other than what I've already paid, and I've seen a few movies for free. So,
But I will give up my time to go out somewhere to go see it, get some popcorn. Now, let me clarify. I mean, yes, I'd prefer to see a movie at home, but opening movie night is an experience. You're absolutely right. And there are movies that if I'm going to see them, I'm going to see them on opening night, and I'm not going to miss them in a theater.
Right. Plus, I also feel that there are certain things that are kind of like in the zeitgeist, right? Like a Star Wars movie. If you don't go see that when it opens up and you try to wait till when it hits streaming, you can't get on the internet for like months and months and months, because it's going to be ruined for you. And if there's anything I hate, it's when people ruin something that I'm looking forward to. That's why I literally have stopped being friends with a few people because they know I'm a huge Cubs fan.
Yes.
And they'll start texting me saying, "Hey, did you watch the Cubs game?" I'm like, "No, not yet." They're like, "Oh man, you're in for a good one." I'm like, "Don't tell me anything. Don't even say that." And they're like, "Oh man, you're going to be really surprised. Just wait. You'll never know what happened."
Friendships over that kind of stuff.
I hate that. It's like,
Yes.
dude, shut up. I'm paying big money to record all the games and be able to come home and watch them at my leisure because I'm working. It's a 1 o'clock start in Chicago. That's 11 o'clock my time. Or 10 o'clock or noon my time. I'm working. Just leave me alone. And I've stopped talking to people. I've blocked people on social media. I've removed numbers from phones. I'm like, if you do this to me, you're dead to me.
Yep.
So
I am right there with you. And I've tried to explain that to people, like my gaming group of friends. When things come out, it's like, you know what? I don't want to hear about it. If there's anything that there's an element of surprise on, leave me out of it until I have a chance. I don't even want to hear people talking about Walking Dead. I don't even watch that show, but there's a chance I might. So
right. You're like, it's all on Netflix. I'll get to it eventually.
It's in the
Don't
queue.
tell me. Right. Amongst like 95 other things, right?
That's kind of like my Steam game list, yes.
Oh, yeah, don't even get me started on that. Okay, let's go over to Facebook. We have Eric Sawe, a longtime friend. He says, now that leather recliners are in theaters, I much prefer the theater. The sound system is way better than anything I have at home, and there is just something that makes being in a dark theater with a huge screen so much more enjoyable.
Yeah, and that's kind of... I identify with that because that's kind of my home experience, though.
Right.
But to tie that back to VR for just a second, the most amazing thing is that they have this big picture mode, and you can watch this movie theater that's out in the middle of space or whatever environment you want to surround yourself in, and you get that kind of experience in VR like nothing I've ever seen. Just putting it out there, you're going to have to check it out sometime.
Now, can you choose which movie you want to watch?
Well, it's whatever you've got on your desktop. So
really,
yeah, you can, whatever you're streaming, you can play it right inside your VR. You can be in a virtual movie theater. I watch it out in the middle of the galaxy. You can adjust the distance to your face from it, the curvature of the screen. You will have to see this. You'll have to bring over some brisket and you'll have to check it out.
Okay, we can make that happen. We can definitely make that happen.
I should join the D&D group and we can do Roll20 in virtual reality. Or roll some virtual dice. That'll be amazing.
You're like, Stu, we're over here playing. You're like, yeah, hold on. I'm just looking at this dice massively in my field of view.
I'm rolling it with my hand controller.
Right. Okay, let's go to Twitter. Josh Stapleton at MTTG Street Team, the bum. He says, at home, but not streaming. I get restless leg issues sitting still in the theater. At home, I can stand up and move around. I prefer physical media. No threat of buffering. That is pretty interesting. I'm kind of a mix at home because I've ripped a lot of my own DVDs of movies I love to watch, so I can still stream them, but it's streaming from my own services.
Right.
And so I don't really get buffering. But then again, every now and again, I'll pop in a DVD of something old.
Well, so I have a 3-buy system for things that I really love, especially, and they've facilitated this. They've caught on to people like me. You can stream things usually like 1 to 2 weeks digitally before you can buy them on Blu-ray, right?
Yes.
So I saw Last Jedi, and same experience with Force Awakens. I saw Last Jedi in the theater 3 times. I have my own opinions about Last Jedi that belong in a 5-hour tirade of their own, but I streamed it the day it was available for streaming, knowing that I was still going to pick it up at Walmart the day it was released on Blu-ray.
Really?
And so there is a difference in experience, though, that I get from those. And the buffering thing, that's a huge thing. And, you lose signal in something and suddenly, boom, your immersion is done.
Yep.
But at the same time, being able to watch it on any TV in my house, watching it up in my office on the 4K monitor, which is not my home theater, it's just, I like that. But at the same time, I got to pop in a Blu-ray my PS4 and watch it with the 7-year-old, and we have the couch experience with popcorn, which I could have just streamed as well. But physical media, there's a reason.
Yeah. I I know Josh has the restless leg thing. I mean, obviously he's my brother. I've seen a bunch of movies with him, and I know like when we're over at his house, he does do that. He'll get up and stuff, and I can't blame him. Like I mean, I would do the same thing. So I get that, sometimes maybe sitting in a theater in a confined space may be hard. I don't have that issue, but what I do have as an issue is what I hate is if I paid money to go see a movie in a theater and then I have to pee like in the middle of the movie. And it's like, this is a Star Wars movie. This is the first opening night and I've gotta go, but it's like, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to twitch and I'm going to bounce. I don't care. I'm going to do whatever I have to do. I'm not going to step away and miss 5 minutes because dang it, I paid $13.
So you just wish you could just pause it. Like all the other people in the theater, like, come on, what the hell?
Right.
You have like 40 people that are all doing that. But yeah, it was a 3-hour movie. Why didn't you take a water bottle, Spence?
I know, seriously. Sometimes. Gatorade. It'd have to be a Gatorade bottle. Wider mouth. Anyway. Going on Twitter, animation
this has
fan.
become that kind of show.
Right. Animation fan at dspin67 says, I may be late. No, you're not. You're on time. Says it depends on the movie. Some should be experienced in the theater. Others where the dialogue may be a bigger part of the story and you miss it because someone can't shut up or a baby is crying, then home viewing will be better. Hashtag FON answers. You know what? There are some movies that I agree, like the movie Lincoln. I was thinking about this the other day because I was thinking Steven Spielberg and Ready Player One. That movie maybe wouldn't have been the best in a movie theater because it's really dialogue heavy. And so if you had distractions, that would be hard to pay attention. Whereas, a Fast and the Furious movie, I don't even know if they have dialogue in those things anymore. It's just vroom, vroom, and let's drive around, Peter Christensen. And, that's okay. Like, you can see that in the theater and you're not going to miss much.
Yeah. And again, that kind of goes back to what I don't enjoy about movies. And if there is someone talking, I get more uptight about it than a human really should, because I will then focus on it and I will be listening for that guy. I will be waiting for him to kick the chair. I'm like, suddenly my experience becomes about getting ready to shut that guy up at all costs. So yeah, and especially if there's dialogue that you don't want to miss. But yeah, you're Fast and the Furious. I actually love those movies, but if I missed any dialogue, and I probably have, nothing has changed.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Funny story. Years ago, this is maybe 2000, 2001, Steve Madura and I were in a movie theater. It was like middle of the day. We were doing like a summer sales job, and we had what we called Tuesday. It was like Tuesday movie day or something like that, where we'd basically take like half the day off and we'd go and double and triple feature movies. And so we went and saw, I think it was Die Another Day. It was a James Bond movie. And like, It was us, and we're like in our early 20s maybe, and then there was like maybe two 14-year-olds in the theater. That was it. And these two 14-year-olds would not shut up. They were just making a ton of noise, and they were really loud, and they weren't even paying attention to the movie. And so I literally I just had enough. I'd snapped. I got up, I walked up to their seat and stood right in front of them and was like, if the two of you don't shut up right now, I'm going to beat you within an inch of your life. I paid good money, damn it. I'm going to listen to this movie. They got super quiet, and I sat back down, and Steve's like, dude, the balls you've got right now. I was like, I don't know why, man, but I just couldn't take it anymore. Something inside of me, like,
there's a snapping point.
There was that moment, and I don't know what it was. And I've been in lots of movies since, and it's gotten worse, and, people make lots of noise, and I've never had that moment. But for some reason, I just really wanted to see that James Bond Die Another Day, which was a crappy James Bond movie. And yeah, I couldn't take it anymore.
Yep.
Just couldn't.
We all have our points. I've been in a couple situations like that I'm not proud of.
Yeah.
But
it is what it is. Yeah. Anyway, Super Friends, thank you so much for answering our question of the week. Every week we will pose a question, and you can answer it in all the usual places, which is Facebook, facebook.com/ForwardOfNerd, Twitter @ForwardOfNerd, email forwardofnerd@gmail.com, or our phone number like Paul Calicote did this week, which is 801-477-7687. Stu, our super friends are out there. They're loyal. They're good to us. But how can they help us out this week?
Well, I really hear that question is how can they prove their loyalty, their undying loyalty to the show? They can rate us on iTunes. Makes things a lot easier to find, gets the word out. Give some good reviews. People will see it. It works. It really works.
Tell a friend.
And
Tell a friend.
And tell a friend. Like,
Here's
what if
the
you
thing.
don't have friends?
Make a friend first.
Okay, make a friend,
Yes,
then tell a friend.
Make a friend, tell a friend, yeah. Here's the thing. The Fortress of Nerditude, it's a fun place to come. Don't you want your friends to be here? Or people that you need to make as friends to be here? That's all I'm saying.
I think so. And then later, you can say, you know what? I was friends of the Fortress of Nerditude before it was popular.
That's right.
And then drop a mic.
And you can always do an extended borrow of the podcast over the summer and then return it like 20 years later.
Oh, we need to instruct you on how streaming works, apparently. But let's move on.
All right, Stu.
I'm telling your librarian.
I don't think she lives anymore, to tell the truth. She was pretty old back then.
Maybe she's hanging on. Maybe you're the reason she can't let go. She's a ghost.
I will find that thief! Stapleton! We hates it forever!
Those were your precious, precious books.
That's true. Okay, Stu, so interesting thing. We were talking about the 80s a little earlier ago. We got a little bit of news this week, a little bit of a nostalgia guilty pleasure flashback.
What is that news? Is it excellent news?
It is radically
or is it bogus?
No, it's not bogus. It is not bogus. It's excellent.
Party time.
I got on Twitter because I saw this picture and I immediately had to repost it. It is a picture of none other than Bill Winters and Keanu Reeves inside of a telephone booth, plastering their faces up against the glass. And if anyone from our generation knows this, they're going to recognize that immediately as Bill and Ted.
Oh yeah, and that there's a little bit of planning that went into that. Like I don't expect they thought 30 years later, but there was some time travel towards the end of that there, right?
Just a touch,
just a
touch. So here's the interesting thing. Okay, we've kind of talked about this a little Jurassic Park, right? The Jurassic Park and then Jurassic World has been a kind of a reboot. And the big thing in Hollywood has been for a little while now is it's easier to reboot something that's happened before, that's had success before, than to come up with something original. It's everywhere, right? I mean, Roseanne, that's on TV now again, right?
Roseanne is crazy. Yeah, and Roseanne, it was more televised than any Super Bowl. The series finale has had more viewers than any Super Bowl ever had. Now Roseanne comes back. The very first episode, 20% more viewers that first episode than
that
they
is
closed
nuts.
with.
That's
nuts. More people than loved it originally because the culture grew and, you've got reruns and, now streaming for everything else and it just grew and grew.
Have you seen the new Roseanne yet?
I have not.
Me neither.
There's so much going on. I'm curious though. I did not watch Fuller House.
Nope.
Will never. But Roseanne, I have to admit that I'm a bit curious about, and it for many reasons. One is they're very politically vocal. I'm a politically active person. Just to kind of see how that ties into that. But it was a good enough show, and I'd be interested to see what brought the magic back. But you mentioned that Hollywood wants to reboot things, and I think now there's even another trend that's building on that, and that's not just rebooting it, but grabbing the actual original source material, like they did with Roseanne. Not just a new idea, but the same people many years later. Fuller House, Roseanne.
Will and Grace has done it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
So I love this idea. I love it.
So we got Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves. I think I said Bill Winters. Alex Winter. Bill Winters. Bill Winters. What does that
mean? Well, you were
name
thinking
sound?
Bill and Ted. I don't know if you were mixing.
Yeah, Bill Winters though is a name I know for some reason. It'll come to me later. So Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter are coming back together to do Bill and Ted 3. Now it's not technically officially confirmed, but here's the thing: Entertainment Weekly did a big write-up on it, and actually, if you go to their website, there's a few articles on it, and they did a photo shoot on it. That to me says hey, we're putting up a test balloon that we're going to do this. we're trying to get some pre-press out there. We're going to try to start building the nostalgia thing. We're going to talk about the fact that the Indiana Jones franchise and Batman and Lethal Weapon and Ghostbusters and The Little Mermaid and Roseanne, all these things are still around. So why can't we get a Bill and Ted's sequel or a reboot? And so they're kind of floating this idea. Let me ask you though, were you a big Bill and Ted guy back in the day?
I would go to my very, very, very conservative grandparents' house about every other weekend when I was a kid. And there was a time when my cousin and I, he was just like 2 or 3 years older than me. There was a time when he and I would watch Excellent Adventure every single time.
Yeah.
'Cause she had these mounted TVs that were on these swivels up in the room that we stayed in. And we would just kick back at night and watch those movies. Sometimes even doing the whole pause the movie, turn off the TV when we'd hear someone else walking around the house.
Yep.
Yeah. Huge. The funny thing is, though, is that I have my memories of that time were a little bit skewed. Until about 2 or 3 years ago, I actually thought that was Sean Penn, not Alex Winters.
Really?
I thought it was just a younger version of him. Anyway, but no, yeah, watched it a ton.
I loved it. My brother loved it. We definitely grew up with Bill and Ted. For me, the funny thing is Keanu Reeves, even though he's done a lot of other stuff, and I've seen most of the stuff he's done.
I will always see him as that role.
Right?
Always.
I mean, he's always going to be locked into that role. And especially the, whoa, because that moment when they capture him, where he's laying down and Sigmund Freud's asking him all the questions. He's like, tell me about your mother, and whatnot. And then he pops up and his hair's all kind of crazy. He's like, whoa, every freaking movie. Whoa, I know Kung Fu. It's that's Bill and Ted to me. It always feels like it kind of comes in, even movies like Constantine, which I really, really liked. I don't know if I should like it necessarily,
Right.
but I really liked it.
Let's be real. I've seen him compared to the plank of wood before, and it's very true. He's very one-dimensional. Matrix, he was the reason that I even took issue with it in the first place. I love the movie and I love him in it, but there's still it's still there.
It's still Keanu.
There's the new movies though. There's these 2 where he's a murderer guy or something like that. Good with guns. I can't.
The John Wick movies.
Yes. Those apparently give some dimension to them. I don't know. Haven't seen them, but otherwise I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen any other role that makes him any different than that. But it's good that he's there.
Right. So, okay. So what's interesting to me is that I found out when I was kind of reading this article, and I've done some searching, is that they've actually been trying to make a third Bill and Ted's since about 2011, maybe. I think is what I saw, that they've been trying to get a script written and going through a bunch of iterations, and that they don't want to reboot the movie. And here's the issue: is that they've written a script on spec, so they've got a script in hand, but they haven't sold it yet because everywhere they take it to, these big production companies, they want to do a reboot, right? Because they want to say, well, it was popular back in the day. We can capture our nostalgia. We can kind of reboot it, and then we can, make it a cash cow. They just want to make it as basically a sequel, a trilogy.
They should kickstart it.
That's what I was thinking too. I honestly, I was like, why not kickstart something like this?
I'm sure somebody owns some controlling rights somewhere that may make that impossible. But
Right.
Seriously, you throw that up there and it will do quite well.
I would think so too.
And if not, then it's not as popular as we thought, and we learned something.
Listen, if Jabba's sail barge can make $2.5 million,
Hey, I kickstarted the Death Star. There was this parody Kickstarter in England or something where they were kickstarting the Death Star for 1 billion euros or something. It got up to maybe 3,000. But I kickstarted the Death Star. I would Kickstarter the heck out of Bill and Ted.
yeah. Oh, I would give money for it too, in a heartbeat. The interesting thing is, so I've got this really. This is a flashback to the 90s. Do you remember the old VH1 Behind the Music where they would talk about the bands? I love those. I loved those. So they're talking about the idea for this upcoming movie, because I think they're going to call it Bill and Ted Face the Music. and that's like the working title they've got. But the whole idea is that I guess Rufus. I'm trying to think of the actual actor. George Carlin. George Carlin makes a line that says basically like at the end of the first movie, like you're going to write songs that are going to like change the world or change the universe, bring peace and harmony, right? That kind of line. Well, they're trying to write this movie as saying like now the band's like in their 40s or 50s, they've got kids, and they still haven't really kind of wrote that one song that's going to bring peace and harmony.
Their pick of destiny.
Yeah, their opus. And so like they're trying to figure out like, how do we do this? Is the band still a thing, whatnot, while dealing with maybe some family issues? But what I want to see is, and this is just my thought, I want to see like a behind the music on Wild Stallions. I don't know why, but to me, like I love that idea. It's like, come on, can we get?
That's almost got like that's almost got a Spinal Tap kind of feel to it right there.
Yes, that's exactly right. I want that because I think that would just be so meta and so silly and stupid that I think I could that's just right up my alley.
That would be awesome.
That's just right up my alley.
That could be like the premise of the whole movie.
Yeah. I mean, kind of like, where are they now? I guess they're kind of comparing the story, though, like more like a Christmas Carol. And so I'm like, does that mean, and here's what I think, does that mean we're going to get a repeat of aspects of Bogus Journey? Is death going to reappear as, like a, here's, what could happen, blah, blah, blah. Are they going to rehash old jokes? I mean, are we going to still hear Death saying like best 450 out of 727 or some crazy number like that?
There's got to be some tie-in, right? Not to the reboot level, but they've got to pull you back. They've got to make you remember some things, pull on that nostalgia string. But honestly, I'm not fond of the working title because it's not Bill and Ted's something. It's Bill and Ted Face the Music, and it just does not ring true.
Yeah, what if it's like Bill and Ted's Behind the Music, Face the Music? Just something. Yeah, I'm with you. It needs to be something. Because think about it, the first movie is them going back in time traveling to, get their figures for the report that they had to do, right? The second movie is about them like facing death and about like dealing with their own mortality. And this movie is going to be about them trying to deal with, saving the universe, dealing with kids. I don't know. I mean, I'm excited for this idea. Like, in theory, yeah. I'm gonna have to see what would happen.
There's so many moving parts though that even if they've got a script, even if they've got commitment from the actors, there's still so far to go.
Well, they've got a director too, and I think one of the things I was reading is that they're now just trying to get financing. So that
crowdsourced.
I mean, if your choice is do a reboot and do a whole like another batch of them, which I don't think is what they want to do. I think they just want to do a sequel and make it a third. Crowdsource, man. I'm with you. Like that would be the way to go in a heartbeat. They
could crowdsource an original, and I'd pay money to do that, or they can reboot it and I'll movie pass it.
There you go. Didn't Veronica Mars? This is a show I didn't watch, but Veronica Mars was 1 or 2 seasons on TV, and I think it did like a crowdsourcing Kickstarter, and they got money enough to make a movie, as I recall. I think my wife watched that, and I remember her talking about it years ago.
That's
it's not unheard of.
Yeah, that's nothing I would care about.
I just remember because as an example, she was talking about it because she loved that show.
I've seen him do some pretty amazing stuff with Kickstarter. I've also seen some things really not work out so well, like some of the Star Trek fan fiction movies stuff. Ouch.
Or the Star Citizen game that's still not out that people have been shelling money for.
20 years from now, I will enjoy my first series Indiegogo funded ship. That's now a micrometer wide compared to some of the other ships. I still follow Star Citizen. I'm still hopeful. I'm still optimistic. But,
how long has it been now?
A completed since Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, I think.
91?
I mean, the guy behind it, I mean, it can be done. It's just they're in feature creep. They want to add everything. They've got the technology to do it. They've got the money to do it. So they're just going to keep working on new ideas until it just becomes vaporware.
Yeah.
I'm realistic.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that'll happen. So let me ask you, Stu. Bill and Ted for me it's a guilty pleasure. I think the first movie is a good movie on its own. The second movie is not as great, but I still love it. Station! Though
I love it as a part of excellent, right? It's a part of the first movie, not because it stands on its own.
Right. That's definitely the reason why. Do you have like guilty pleasure movies that you love and like you know in your heart that like as much as you love it, people are gonna judge you if you say this out loud?
Maybe. It's the Burton Batman movies, like
Really?
even Batman and Robin. I loved them. I watched those things over and over.
But Batman and Robin's not the Burton Batman movies.
Well, it's in that series.
That's Joel Schumacher. That's
right.
Completely different.
Well, no, I mean it's still a continuation of the Burtons.
Sure, I know you're saying.
That era of Batman movies.
Yes.
Loved them all. The Prince soundtrack and video. I was all into it. I still enjoy them. Like even my 7-year-old won't watch that, but but
I loved Michael Keaton. For me, he's my Batman.
Yes, Michael Keaton. Well, I have to say, and I know you're not a fan of the Affleck, but I loved him as Batman.
I'm okay with Ben Affleck. It was Steve. Steve really hates Ben Affleck. Okay. And so I try to mention Ben Affleck as much as I possibly can for that reason.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I thought he made a good one. But yeah, Michael Keaton is definitely my Batman as well. I did not mind Val Kilmer or George Clooney, though. I thought they both did okay.
Val Kilmer I was kind of okay on. George Clooney, but I get it. George Clooney was not a very super established movie actor when he joined. Val Kilmer dropped out at the last second. And then he jumped in, so I understand that there were some issues there.
What I liked about Clooney, though, is he was the first Bruce Wayne-ish Batman. He was the first person I bought as Bruce Wayne, not just Batman. Because Keaton was all about being Batman. Kilmer was good in both, not exceptional at either.
See, I buy Christian Bale as Batman, but not as Bruce Wayne.
I agreed. Which is what I liked about Ben Affleck, was actually he was probably the first real, true Bruce Wayne that we got to see more of than just the guy who puts on the cape and then it's all about the guy in the cape.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so you love the bat nipples, is what you're saying.
I love the bat nipples, and I also found it outrageous that Chris O'Connell insisted in his contract that he had a bigger codpiece than George Clooney.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that. Are you serious?
Now you're never going to watch that movie the same.
No.
My other one, though, modern day Star Trek Discovery.
Okay, so sell me on this, because I have been refusing to watch it because of the dang CBS All Access paywall.
That is your one true reason to hate it. The show itself is caught in a dire circumstance of bad publicity and marketing on the wrong channel.
Yep.
They've got to get rid of CBS All Access, because frankly, Star Trek Discovery is amazing. It's the Star Trek I've always really wanted. It's an adult Star Trek. And they do, I don't want to spoil much, but I've always loved the Mirror Universe. And there's always an homage to the Mirror Universe in every series.
Yep.
Star Trek Discovery did it more than an homage. They made it part of what you cared about Star Trek for. And it's just this brilliant second half of the season storyline that was the Mirror Universe I always wanted to see, and it was done so well. And the cast, the actors, the acting, the scenes, it's real, true, gritty sci-fi. And I understand why people are concerned with the divergence. It's not Roddenberry's Star Trek, but I think it tells it in a more believable way. Like, these are real people with real problems, not just this no-needs society that has everything all glorious.
Right. I wanted for years, because Enterprise...
Get the trial and watch the whole series.
I may have to do that. I wanted Enterprise to be a good series.
Yeah.
And it's okay. There's parts of it that aren't bad, but overall it was not great. And it left me wanting more. And so I was super excited to hear that they were coming out with a new Star Trek after so many years. And then I heard that dang CBS All Access paywall madness. And I was like, what? I was like, you have so many fans that are going to want to see this. If it's a good show, you're going to get more people that are going to flock to CBS to watch it. Putting it behind a paywall, you're going to limit your ability to grow your market outside of your core fans.
And they even did it with commercials. Like,
there's commercials on this thing?
There's two versions of All Access. There's like a $4.99 version with commercials and a $7.99 without.
Ugh.
A pay system with commercials.
Who wants to pay to see King of Queens and Everyone Loves Raymond in reruns? You're only gonna watch that to see like Survivor and Star Trek, in my opinion.
Which could be served on Netflix just fine.
Thank you. I agree. Okay.
What's your guilty pleasure, Spencer?
Yeah. We got to get off this because that the CBS All Access paywall. It triggers me, man. It triggers me. I don't know why.
There are ways around the paywall.
Yeah,
dig under the wall.
Yes, I need to do an extended summer thing on this. Yeah.
Trump's got nothing on CBS. They built the wall first.
That's right. They build the wall. You show me a digital all access paywall, I'll show you a higher ladder. I don't know. I got nothing there. Okay, so this actually has Keanu Reeves in it, which is awesome because it does tie into Bill and Ted.
Oh no.
I love Point Break. That movie should not be as loved by me as it is. It is cheesy. It's about an FBI agent, a rookie FBI agent teaming up with an old FBI agent, chasing down surfing bank robbers. And when they rob the banks, they wear masks of ex-presidents.
Yes.
It's ridiculous. It's goofy. It's over the top. It's got Keanu Reeves in it. It's got Patrick Swayze. It's got the Swayze in it. But I love that movie. I can watch that movie over and over and over again, and it never gets old to me. I don't know why.
Did you see the remake?
No, because I love the original so much. I did not want to sully my memory of Point Break and what I love with the new fandangled crap that was filmed on a GoPro.
I have never heard a single discussion between anybody that someone went, I love Point Break, and have someone reply, which one?
right, exactly.
No, you know what? I'm with you. I loved Point Break. It's everything stupid about action movies, but done a little bit over the top in a way, like the ex-presidents thing was brilliant.
Yes, brilliant.
There's little details all throughout that movie that just it makes it fun.
And the names, like the names in this thing are so like you got Johnny Utah. Like that's such a crazy, like I don't know why, but like that name is like very memorable. And then Patrick Swayze,
you're in Utah,
Bodie. So. Well, even before I lived in Utah though, but like Johnny Utah is like if he would have been Johnny Colorado, I wouldn't have rolled off the tongue because too many syllables. And Johnny New Jersey. I mean, just
Johnny Alabama.
Yeah, exactly. Johnny Mississippi would have a different feel.
JONNIMISSIPI.
Right. But then you've got Patrick Swayze and his character's Bodie. And I was like, that's like such a surfer name. Like, dude, my name's Bodie. Let's go hang 10 and rip off some banks. Chase the waves, go to Australia. Like it just, oh gosh, I love that. I love that movie. I shouldn't, but I do.
I'm with you. I like it.
Another one I really love is it's a 90s comedy starring Kelsey Grammer. It's called Down Periscope. And it's where he has to take a World War II era sub and like beat some war games against like current nuclear subs, but he's got a whole cast of misfits and rejects, and it's got Rob Schneider in the film, and it's got Lauren Graham in the film, and it's Rip Torn's in it. I don't know why, but I think the people I watched it with, my good buddy Jason and his dad Glenn, who's unfortunately no longer with us. Like I remember staying up like super late at night at his house and watching it, and like Jason's dad, Glenn, just like laughing so hard. I thought we were going to have to take him to the hospital because he was going to have a heart attack. And like, I just have these good memories associated with it. I've watched it recently. If I'm being perfectly honest, it's not a great movie, but I just love it. It's just ridiculously stupid, but I love it.
Yeah, that came right at the end of all the Police Academy style of movies and everything. And by then I was pretty burnt out. I've seen it, not really my thing. But I also get the whole, nostalgia has rose-tinted glasses. I recently watched the original Transformers cartoon movie.
Ooh, yeah.
Same idea. I don't know what I was thinking when I was a kid, but watching it now, it's kind of painful.
Yeah, that's like watching the He-Man movie.
Oh.
And you go back and you're like, ooh, why did I want to watch this crap as a kid?
I didn't need therapy then, but I might now.
Yeah. Okay, so the last one I wrote down, and I couldn't remember the name of this movie because it's been a few years, so I had to pull out the old DVD book and flip through it. Oh,
Books?
My gosh.
What are those?
Yeah. I got rid of my cases a long time ago for just standard DVDs. Anyway, I don't know why, because it's got Ashton Kutcher in it, and it's like not a great film. It's got Ashton Kutcher and Kevin Costner. The movie is about Coast Guard rescue swimmers up in Kodiak, Alaska, and you got the new rookie that comes on who used to be the swim champ, and like he's being schooled on like, we save lives up here. The movie's called The Guardian.
This is everything I wanted in a movie.
It is so, I don't know what it is, but like there was a period where I think I watched that movie like once a month for like 2 years. It'd be like late at night. I'm like, you know what? Let's watch The Guardian. That's kind of a good movie. I mean, I can't justify it. I can't explain why I like it. It's really, I really have nothing, but for some reason I can toss that movie in and I can just watch it. It's one of those movies where like I can just like turn my brain off and I can be like, yeah, Kevin Costner, you school that young pup on how to swim in the ocean up in Alaska and save those deep sea crab fishers.
Man, I'm sorry I missed that one in theaters.
You can probably movie past that retroactively.
I don't know. When you say Guardian, the only Guardian I can think of is Supergirl's friend, so I can't even make a tie there.
Yeah, no, it's not good. It's really not. But you know what? I think we have these things right.
I have a serious movie that's also
okay.
Pay It Forward.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I managed a Blockbuster for a while. I don't know if you remember the Blockbusters. Most people don't want to.
Yep.
But yeah, anytime anyone would want a serious movie that, my question would be, do you want to cry? Okay, well, here you go. Pay It Forward. And I've watched that a few times.
You didn't give him K-Packs?
Oh, no. It was a close second choice, but no.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if Pay It Forward wasn't in, but
right.
It was always in.
You're like, that or Steel Magnolias. There you go.
And Driving Miss Daisy.
That's right. That's interesting. Pay It Forward. I think I've seen that movie twice. And all I remember from that movie is Haley Joel Osment, I think, dies in the end, and it's got John Bon Jovi in it.
Spoiler. You just spoiled it for somebody. You jerk.
Dang it. Please don't unfriend me. I'm sorry. I just did the thing that I hate. Yeah.
Yep.
Although that movie is like 20 years old, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think
Helen Hunt when she was already starting to look old.
Yeah. Helen Hunt back in the day. Yeah.
I subscribe to that podcast.
Not too shabby.
I rated it on iTunes
for the summer. So let me ask you this: Why do you think we have these guilty pleasure movies? Like, what do you think that or TV shows, right? Because we're getting this big nostalgia wave, and so I feel like we're going to start seeing more of these things coming back. What do you think? What do you think it is about guilty pleasure movies or TV shows that like keep people wanting more of them?
I don't know. That's a funny thing because I generally live kind of a guilt-free lifestyle. I don't subscribe to guilt much. I don't think it has much purpose. Why should I care what you think about what I watch, Spence?
Right.
And if you want to watch Point Break, great. Invite me over. We'll have brisket. We'll watch it. But I think there's this level of embarrassment, especially in our culture, geek culture, nerd culture, where we grew up afraid to be who we were.
Right.
So that judgment is inherent, and it maybe doesn't apply to sci-fi and fantasy, but anything that we feel that other people may judge us for, we're afraid to be open with it, even though it ties into something that also got us through what may have been difficult times. You know, the Batman movies were for me that exactly, and I enjoy them because I remember where I was at in that time of my life, and I remember it was difficult, and I remember that those were the things that I got to enjoy, and they became a bit mainstream, maybe not as well done as things later on, but, you know, I can tie back to it and enjoy it. But I know that most people don't, so...
Right.
It's not even really guilty pleasure, it's embarrassed pleasure, I think.
Yes, like
Paul
a
Rubin
photograph.
in a theater.
Yeah, like a photograph I have of me and my dad and some Klingon women. Yeah, you know, I remember I used to wear that Data t-shirt, right? I mean, Star Trek Next Generation was Data t-shirt, and like I loved that thing when I got it for Christmas. And then I started going back to junior high, and the endless teasing that I got from many of my peers and classmates because I wore that thing, and I was like, I love this, because for me, I used to have to sneak up, because if you remember back in the day, this was on the old UPN. Before that, you know, Next Generation was on, like it came on at like 9:00 at night. And that was like usually my bedtime on school nights. But I'd always try to like hide in the living room, kind of like on the side of the couch where my mom couldn't see. But my dad could see me. My dad knew I was there. My dad wanted me to watch Star Trek with him because he knew I loved sci-fi. And so like he wanted that. And inevitably I'd make it like halfway through the episode, and then like I'd relax and like my foot would, I kind of kick it out, and my mom would walk by and see my foot hanging out from behind the couch. She's like, "Spencer, go to bed." And so I'd have to go up to bed. It's like, I loved that. And like, it was something that my dad and I shared. It was a bond we had, a shared love of Star Trek.
Yeah. With my daughter now, it's like, I am the reason that I keep her up to watch Star Wars with me.
Right. Right. Influence. Yeah. I'm forcing these things on my kids. I'm like, you will watch this movie and love it. But you know, it was that moment. And then I got teased and, you know, mocked a lot. And then I eventually just kind of stopped wearing the shirt because I was like, it's causing me too many problems. But my love of Star Trek never went away. Like it was something that I carried with me for a long time.
But you started building a wall and keeping people from that.
Right. Yep. And so I think we all have these, you know, guilty pleasures or maybe embarrassed pleasures that we have and we maybe still hold on to. I mean, like I said, Bill and Ted, I'm not going to meet new people and walk up and like, "Hi, my name's Spencer. I love Bill and Ted. How about you?" Like, that's not how I'm going to break the ice. It's not what I'm going to start a conversation with.
But if you were in an environment surrounded by a lot of people your age and younger, and you were to wear an outfit specifically from Bill and Ted's of anywhere, you would have people that would break the ice with you.
Absolutely. And that's the great beauty of like Comic-Cons, right?
Yep.
You can go, you can be yourself, and you're surrounded by other people who love the same things you do or know those things. Like, I love Firefly. I love Serenity. And so, like, my Skype handle for years has been Browncoat 1979. And when people see that, they're like, "What does that mean?" I'm like, "Yeah, you don't know."
Is that a Civil War reference?
Right. I'm like, "Yep, that's it. It's Civil War." But when I come across people who know what browncoats are, and they see that, like, "Oh, that's awesome, dude," you know, and I get that kind of reaction, I know those are my people.
For sure.
So here's my question, super friends. You're out there. We've given you some of ours, you know, the Tim Burton Batman movies, Point Break. I want to hear
there
from
should be a
mashup
there. I'm just saying.
Batman Point Break. That would be awesome.
Anyway, sorry.
I want to hear from you, super friends. Tell me, what's your guilty pleasure movie or TV show, and let us know, because I'm curious to see if you have something similar, because my guess is a lot of other people's guilty pleasures probably are some of mine as well, because that list could go on for a while. But let me know all the usual places. You can get me on the email, which is forwardofnerd@gmail.com, Facebook, which is facebook.com/forwardofnerd, Twitter @forwardofnerd, or the phone number, which is 801-477-7687. You can drop me a voicemail, and we will read your answers to the question next week. Stu,
yes, sir.
How can our super friends follow you on the social medias? Where are you at? What are you doing?
Where can you be found? I am on the Facebooks and the Twitters at dcow, and on Instagram at dcow_stew. Fair warning, I'm never on Twitter. It'll be crazy if I get a notification that someone's looking at that. But yeah, and if you happen to be playing EverQuest, one of the 3 people out there in the world, I am still playing on Cornave's server as Klain. Nice. I've thought about getting back into World of Warcraft a little bit. I'm not going to lie to you, but we'll have to talk about that later because I miss the community MMORPG game. It's been a long time. That's why I got back into it. I've been solo gaming for a little bit too long. Yeah. It's always good to take friends along with you. For sure, friend. Well, from all of us here at the Fortress of Nerditude to all of you out there, wherever you may be, may the Force be with you. Always.